Hey, welcome. Let's just jump right in. We're around people all day, every day. But how often do we really stop and think about what's actually going on with them? Like, really going on. Today, we're going to talk about a tool that can completely change how you see, well, everything and everyone. All right, picture this. You're in a super busy hospital. You see patients, doctors, nurses rushing around, and we all do it, right? We make these instant judgments. That person looks grumpy. That doctor seems stressed. But what if we're missing the whole story? What's happening behind their eyes that we can't see? This is where it gets interesting. So there's this really powerful video from the Cleveland Clinic that just nails this idea. It peels back the curtain and shows us these hidden stories. It's a reminder that pretty much everyone is dealing with something we know nothing about. Let's walk through a few examples from it that really hit home. So you see a man just sitting there quietly, looks calm, maybe a little tired, but what's really happening? He just lost his wife. His world just fell apart. That's a massive personal tragedy, completely hidden from view. And that's just the first layer. Okay, or how about this one? A patient waiting for test results. She looks totally calm, right? But inside, she's terrified she might have cancer. You're starting to see it, aren't you? This huge gap between what we see on the outside and the reality someone's living on the inside. And it's not just the people we think of as vulnerable, like patients. Think about the doctor. She looks so confident, so in control. But on the inside, she's wrestling with this immense pressure, terrified of making a mistake that could change someone's life forever. This isn't just a patient thing. It's a human thing. It's totally universal. And then there's the nurse. She just looks exhausted. It's so easy for us to just think, she had a long day. But the story behind it is that she's working such long shifts, she hasn't seen her kids in days. Now, hold that thought, because that's a really important clue. What if her exhaustion isn't just her problem? What if it's a sign of something much, much bigger? So, yeah, all of these stories hammer home that old saying, right? Everyone is fighting a battle you know nothing about. A calm face can hide a whole world of struggle. But here's the next big question. What if we could go beyond just knowing they're in a battle? What if there was a way to see and understand the entire battlefield they're on? And this is where things get really interesting. We're about to shift gears from feeling empathy, which is great, to gaining a much deeper kind of understanding. There's an actual name for this, a framework for connecting all these personal, hidden stories to the big picture, and it's called the sociological imagination. It's a term that comes from a sociologist named Wright Mills, and at its core, it's this: the ability to see the connection between our own personal experiences, the stuff that happens to us, and the giant social and historical forces that are constantly shaping our lives, whether we realize it or not. So put another way, it's kind of like putting on a new pair of glasses. It's a tool that lets you see how your individual story isn't just your story. It's woven into the much bigger story of your society. Let's break down how that actually works, because it's a real game changer. Okay, so Mills gave us this really brilliant way to think about it that makes everything click. He drew a line between what he called personal troubles and public issues. And once you get the difference between these two, you've basically unlocked the whole idea. Let's go back to our examples. That nurse who's exhausted because of long shifts, that's her personal trouble. It feels like it's just happening to her. But when you have thousands of nurses across the country who are burnt out for the same reason, it's not a personal trouble anymore, it's a public issue. It points to something bigger, like systemic understaffing in healthcare. Same thing with the patient worried about medical bills. That's a huge personal trouble, but it's directly tied to a public issue, the way our entire national health insurance system is set up. See what's happening? The sociological imagination is all about training your brain to do this, to look at one person's problem and immediately ask, wait a second, is this part of a bigger pattern? It completely shifts your focus. Instead of just blaming or feeling sorry for the individual, you start to see the larger structures that are creating the problem in the first place. So what's the payoff for thinking this way? What happens when we actually start using these new glasses? Well, it doesn't get rid of empathy. Not at all. It actually supercharges it. It takes that gut feeling of, I feel for that person, and turns it into a much deeper, more powerful social awareness. And you can actually break it down into 3 simple steps. First, you start with the personal. You see the person. You feel for their struggle. That's empathy. Step 2, you zoom out. You start looking for the bigger patterns, the systems, the structures. That gives you insight. And then step 3, you connect the dots between the person and the pattern. And that's real awareness. And this is so important. Why? Because when you start seeing the world this way, you stop making those snap judgments we talked about at the beginning. Your empathy becomes so much deeper because you're not just seeing the symptom, you're seeing the root cause. And maybe the most powerful thing of all, it's a constant reminder that our personal struggles are often shared struggles, that we're not alone in this. We're all part of something much bigger. So, I'll leave you with this to chew on. Think about some of the challenges in your own life, the things that keep you up at night. What if they're not just your private troubles? What if all this time you've been a character in a much bigger story? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.